Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you are in the world. This is Howie, and I'm here to help you win with money. In today's episode of Back to School, this is level 101. We're talking about a spending plan, or other people just use the term the budget. This is one of my favorite topics because budgeting and spending plan are really the foundation for most people. The only people who really don't care about this is if you're a billionaire or maybe you're from a very wealthy family that has 20 or 30 million dollars, you may not need the skill because most people, if you're in that position, you're hardly going to ever outspend just the money you make in dividends or in other investments. But for 99% of us, this matters. You got to be able to understand what a spending plan or a budget is. So let's get into it. What is a budget? In essence, it's telling your money where to go. Some people run out of money before the end of the month. This is why, if you don't know where your money is going, you're going to have a hard time surviving. So let's go over what are the steps in creating or using a spending plan. The first part is just create a plan. And the method of how you do it may be different for all people. The most common way is still a spreadsheet, but there are mobile phone apps, desktop apps, or software you can buy. You can use an old school journal or some type of paper or a different tracking mechanism you can use. And really, the purpose is what is important to you. You set up the goals, you set up which categories and buckets you want to spend on. If you're a person who loves to travel, you probably want to increase the spending in the travel area and reduce it in other areas that are not so important. And that's why a spending plan is very important. It tells you how you're going to spend the money before the month starts. And there are different methods. We'll talk about it briefly. There's the most common one, which is a balance-based budget. Governments also have something called surplus and deficit budget. For the average person, you won't be using a surplus or deficit budget. Most of us will refer to a budget as the zero base budget or the balanced budget. If I make $2,000 a month, I need to create a budget telling where all that money is going, all that 2,000. And some of that money doesn't even come to me. It's paid out in form of taxes directly to Uncle Sam right away. But that's what a budget is. What's the next step? The next step is once you create a budget, the month will go and life happens, and you need to now figure out, was your guesstimate really good? But if you're just guessing and don't have a way to measure the actuals versus what you're guessing, then how does that help? So some people use this system where you either track receipts, some people can look at their bank statement and figure it out. If you're using a cash system, then your cash you will know because one of your envelopes in your cash system will be empty, and so you're almost borrowing money from another bucket. So those are the things of why, delete that. So when you review and track and compare your spending against your budget, then you know what needs to be fixed. And that leads us to the next step. When you're reviewing your budget, you have to make some adjustments. In the beginning, you may not have listed every category out, or you may not even know because some items are only charged to you once every 3 months or every 6 months or once a year. So you may not even remember to put that in your budget. Some stuff have hidden costs, or maybe they're associated to another event. If I send my kids to camp, yes, there is a cost to camp, but then you forgot about all the other costs. What if your camp was 2 or 3 hours away and you have to drive there and there's food costs and eating and you're buying new equipment? So things like that are a little bit harder to predict. And then the last step is to repeat the process. You go back for the next month and you do it again. And you will do the same process. Over time, you get better and better at it, and your budget becomes a little bit more accurate. So we don't want you to give up here because this is super important. You keep on doing it, you get better at it, You know where your money is going. You decide how to spend your money. A budget is not limiting. That's why we call it a spending plan. If you're telling your money that I want to spend money on purses, then increase the amount of your spending plan for those things that you like. But in order to make it work, you may have to reduce other areas to make up that shortfall. This is why the spending plan is so important. You decide what's important to you and your family, and you create a spending plan that works for you. No one should tell you what's important to you. If you love fancy cars and you're okay with spending $1,000 a month, then that's fine. But you may have to cut back in other areas to make up for it. And this is why it's so important. In business, we also use this concept of cash flow positive. It means that you have more money going into your business at any given point in time than you have coming out. And that's a good thing for a business. Negative cash flow, it's much, much worse. And that's how profitability is determined. But profitability measures something different. It's what you have left at the end of the month after you paid everything that you need to run that business. That could be labor cost, that could be equipment cost, that could be the rent on the building and advertising costs and everything else. This is how you can tell if a business will survive or not. You can tell if it's going to do well or not. It is that simple. And what the funniest thing is, you are the CEO or the CFO of your house. Will your household survive? It's under your leadership. If you think of your family as a business and you are the one in control of the money, are you happy with the way you're running your business? Because no one is telling you how to spend your money today. I don't walk into your house and tell you, hey, you need to move $40 from this category and spend it in this category. No one tells you that. You decide how your household is run. You decide whether or not you're driving an expensive car or a beater. You decide which restaurant to go to. You decide what school your kids go to. You decide which job you have. There's a lot of things you are in control of. And a budget is just a reflection of that. You're telling where your money is going. You need to get this part down. Because once you pass this part and you are really confident that every month you're always cash flow positive, there are some of my clients who never go back to a budget because they never spend more than they make in any given year or any given quarter or any given month. And so do you need to track? Some people don't care about tracking anymore. And that's fine. When you hit a certain milestone, it is possible for you not to track because they know in the end they have enough assets and other things that are creating more income that surpasses their spending. But if you're not there yet, just be cautious. You may need to still track where your money is going. With that being said, hopefully you enjoyed this. Let me know how you do your budget. Let me know what tips you have. Comment below, give me a thumbs up. Let's help people win with money.